Y'all ready for this?
Y'all ready for this?
I think we've made that joke once before, but I'm okay with it again. I think the last time it didn't actually land. I think I mumbled y'all ready for this and you didn't do it. Maybe that's what happened.
Yeah,
Who
probably.
knows? Welcome me in, babe.
Welcome to the Boles of Life podcast. I'm Virginia.
And I'm Tyler. As we've gone through life, we've learned something important.
Life is messy. There are a lot of armchair experts out there who will try to tell you how to make life simple.
But it's not, so you won't find any here. Instead, you'll find everyday people who have jumped into the mess of life and are making an adventure of it.
What was it that you called us today? Ramblers?
Yes, we're ramblers at heart.
Yeah.
Is that also how our podcast goes?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Please don't leave that in the reviews. That won't sound good. We're ramblers at heart, but not in our conversations.
Uh-huh. All right. Well, today we
well.
have some wonderful guests for you to hear from.
We do. Tell me about them.
Do I say their name?
Sure, absolutely. I like their names. They have nice names.
Michelle and Cameron Vincent.
Or Cameron and Michelle Vincent, or Michelle and Cameron Vincent, whichever order you go
Which
in.
order?
I don't know. Society tells you the guy should go first, and that's probably why it felt
And
weird
I flipped
to me.
it. I flipped
You did,
it.
and that's why it felt weird to me.
Anyways, they're here for our episode about environmental wellness.
Now, listen, you're automatically going to go, they're going to tell me to just recycle the whole episode. That's actually not the whole episode.
Or you might not even have a clue.
Yeah, that's true too. We're going to dive into this, and it's going to be a really fun topic. I actually really enjoyed this conversation.
Yes, it's going to be super duper informative.
It is.
And fun, because if you don't know Michelle and Cameron, you're missing out.
You are.
They are the type of people that are just really good at a lot of things.
They are. Like,
crafty,
all the
athletic, smart.
Cameron runs a really successful YouTube channel. We talk about that for a minute.
Yes. He sold baseball cards.
Random. And
okay, we're giving too much away.
We are. There are fun things happening in this episode. You're going to love it. But it's primarily about environmental wellness. So tell me what environmental wellness is, Virginia.
Okay, so I think when we think about environmental wellness, we have to think about two different types of environments, right?
Sure.
The natural environment, like what is already there, made by God.
So nature.
Got
it.
And then there is the environment that is man-made. It's built by us.
So like my house or my job.
Or your job. Yeah, so we have two different kind of environments that we can look at when we talk about environmental wellness, and understand that those environments affect your health. They affect your physical health. They affect your spiritual health.
They affect all your health.
Yeah, and then a lot of times what we'll talk about is that it doesn't just affect your health right now, but it'll affect the people around you and then generations to come.
Yes.
So hopefully that makes sense when we talk about environmental wellness, like what is in your environment that is natural and man-made, and how is it affecting you, and I guess the generations to come, like we said.
Yeah, I love it. Well, let's dive into hanging out with Michelle and
what?
Cameron. Shanging out. Don't make fun of my words. I was hoping no one would notice it. I've tried to say Cameron, hang out with Cameron and Michelle, but then I wanted to change it and go, no, I want to hang out with Michelle and Cameron, to flip it as you wanted me to. But hey, we're going to hang out with them, guys, so let's join them. Well, welcome in. We want to say hey to Cameron and Michelle Vincent, who are joining us today. Why don't you guys give a big hello?
Hello.
Hey.
Welcome, people.
We're so glad to have Cameron and Michelle. We know them from our church family. Cameron and I used to work at the same place he works at. So since we've lived in this area, we've known Cameron and Michelle so about 4 years, which is the same age as your daughter.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about Cameron and Michelle. Like in 60 seconds, who are Cameron and Michelle? And of course, you can include Liston.
Well, we love to travel. We love national parks. I like to do arts and crafts.
Yes.
Especially with Liston, because she's real artsy. She likes to draw and color. And we both like to be pretty active.
Yeah, we're active people. We like to live a healthy lifestyle, and I'm a father, I'm a brother, I'm an uncle. I am a married man, obviously, and so I think we're just a fun-loving duo, and we try to live our life to the best of our abilities. And of course, nobody's perfect, and we know that, but we strive to live Christ-like. And so we're excited to be here today, and we're glad to be on the episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's going to be a ton of fun. Now that we've got some surface level, here's Cameron and Michelle. Let's dig into just the most random things. We call this section rapid fire questions. So we have 4 decks of cards. They're a little random here and there with the questions they ask. And so the way we'll kind of pick it is we'll give you the guys the option of picking red, green, blue, or black. So all you have to do is pick a color and we'll ask you a question. Virginia, you want to get us kicked off?
Okay, Michelle, I'll start with you. Pick red, green, blue, or black.
Green.
Okay, I feel like that would be the color you'd pick.
Okay.
If your office had show and tell for adults, what thing would you be proud to display?
I would be proud to display my map of national parks. I have pins in all of the parks that I've visited. I like to talk about parks, so I would bring that and be able to explain to everyone like what's my favorite park, what's my least favorite, where I spent the most time.
I love that. How many parks have you been to?
A lot.
Okay.
I mean, a lot. I have.
Yeah.
So count the pins.
Plus or minus 50. Plus or minus 50.
Oh, minus 50. But
Okay.
I also go to national monuments, military parks as well.
That's
So not quite to 50.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Love it.
Okay.
All right, Cameron, red, green, blue, or black?
Let's go with black.
Yes. All right.
We're wearing black today.
Yeah, you guys are.
Yeah.
Did you know I was wearing a black?
I did not know you were wearing
Oh, I
black.
thought you planned it.
Good.
No.
Well, let's see. We got black, 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 and a gray. So we're all
Gray.
pretty close. I like it.
That is close. Yeah.
Neutral.
All right. Let's see. This is a decent one. I like this one. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Oh, rapid fire. Long, slow runs make long, slow runners.
Ooh, long.
So I grew up being a big time runner and ran in high school, ran in college, and I used to run a good bit. My coach told me back in high school, he said, Cameron, long, slow runs make long, slow runners. And he told me that after I was trying to get my mileage up one week, and he's like, you don't need to run long, you need to run fast. So that was my best piece of advice for running wise.
Okay. There you go. So it's not about being able to run a long time in that kind of sport. It was more about being able to sprint it out.
Yeah, he's more over quality over quantity, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It was the complete opposite in college, though. They were all about getting those mileage in and those days in. So it was a little different. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Okay, Michelle, your turn.
Red.
Okay.
Nope. That
That's a
one was
gross one.
weird. No.
Ah, okay.
Okay, this one's kind of funny. So it's a would you rather. Would you rather blow up 100 balloons or lick 500 envelopes?
Oh,
my goodness.
I don't like licking things, but I can't blow up a balloon.
Oh,
So
gosh.
I'm just up a creek.
He's
I
like,
guess I would
neither.
try to blow up a balloon, but I can't. So
There
but I
you
don't
go.
want to lick anything. Sure.
Yeah, envelope 500 envelopes. But that'd be terrible.
You'd have to drink a lot of water.
Yeah.
It's just really inefficient,
Yeah.
Yeah. They make them nowadays where you just peel the thing off and lay them down. You don't have to
Yeah.
lick them anymore.
Yeah.
That's fine.
They do?
You can get
Yeah.
you a towel and just dip it under the faucet and then just use it to swipe the,
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
instead of
So
licking it.
I used to work in an office in college, and I did have to do 500 or more envelopes. It was the bills going out to all the students.
Oh, my
But I did not
gosh.
have to lick them. There is a little contraption. It's like a roller stone ball kind of thing. And you put water in the bottom and
Perfect.
it rolls water. So you could roll it on the envelope. So you didn't, I did lick a lot of them, but when I had that contraption, I didn't have to.
Interesting. Things I did not know.
Yep. All right. Your turn.
Cameron, red, green, blue, black.
Let's go with blue.
Blue. What would be the worst movie sequel ever made? So one that doesn't exist.
Forrest Gump 2.
Yeah, that would be hard to go behind.
I would like to know your why, because you came up with that really quickly.
Oh gosh.
About 15 minutes ago, I was going to record the Patriots and the Bucks game, and I saw that Forrest Gump was on TV, and we watched a couple minutes of Forrest Gump, and it is actually one of my top 5 films of all time. So I figured since it was top of the mind, might as well blurt it out. Yeah.
Like, don't bring a second one though, because then it would ruin it.
Yep.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Okay. Michelle, red, green, blue, or black?
Black.
Okay. When you die, what do you want to be remembered for?
There's several things, but maybe just some of the ways I inspired others to take care of the planet and to go green and love nature.
I love it.
And I want to protect it for future generations.
Yes.
Because it's just one of the things I love.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love it. I love that answer.
Yep, that's good. And we'll dive into that a little more in just a second. But we're going to do one more for Cameron. Red, green, blue, or black?
Let's go with green.
Green. Nope. Not that one. Some of these are a little
we have to watch out.
High rated.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite number and why?
Number 7 is my favorite number. For reasoning, I would say, so Cameron, Cameron, is 7 letters. My middle name is Jameson, which is also 7 letters. And then my last name is Vincent, which is also 7 letters. And when I was in 5th grade, I used to ride dirt bikes, and I had an accident and I got 7 stitches. So I don't know if that's more of a lucky thing, but 7 has kind of been my go-to number since then. So yeah, 7 is it.
I like it. You had like a really good reason too.
Yeah, I don't think I could have come up with a reason. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
I love it. Well, we are talking about environmental wellness, as you kind of led into there a little bit, Michelle. Now, Michelle, I know you lean a little more in the going green nature of environmental things. Cameron, on the other hand, I know you deal with workplace and kind of setting up some environments inside the workplace. So we'll probably dig a little bit into both of those. But just right off the top, what do you guys think of when you hear the term environmental wellness?
Well, for me, it's several parts. It's caring for the environment, caring for each other, and then also caring for ourselves. And all 3 of those factors play a part together. It's being aware of our environment and how caring for it helps us ensure a healthier place for our neighbors and for our children. That's kind of my overview of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't wait to hear you dive deep into that a little bit more. But that's really cool. Cool definition. All right, Cameron, what about you?
Yeah. So yeah, like Tyler said, I'm more in that workplace oriented mindset. But if I think of environment, I do think green. I think recyclable. I think composting. I think setting ourselves up to have access to things that are wellness, whether that be healthy restaurants or healthy gyms close by, fitness centers, things like that. And then also where we spend the most time, of course, in the workplace, and making sure the environment there is wellness friendly as well. So there's some tidbits information that we do at work that kind of help set that up. And I know that can kind of branch off into other areas of wellness, but that's kind of first thought is environmental. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that when I think of environmental wellness, my brain kind of goes 2 ways too. Like, I think very strongly like about the earth, the planet, going green, kind of like what Michelle you've touched on. And then Cameron, just given both of our backgrounds in kind of that wellness industry, I also think about before we even dive into the other wellness dimensions, we have to set our environment up for wellness. So that's when I think like, okay, it's not just the earth, but it's also our homes, our commutes, our workplaces, what's in our car, what's in our yard. Like there's so many things you can go that way too, that it's like I have to set myself. And you kind of touched on that too, Michelle, when you said like it's not just it's earth, the people around you, and yourself. So bringing it back into a little bit, zooming in a little bit on how can you set your environment up for wellness, for better wellness. So yeah, my brain kind of goes both ways too, which is why I thought you guys would be so good for this interview. So on that note, do you have to be in nature or into nature to have that environmental wellness?
So I would say you don't. Like most people think that you have to live out in the country and have animals and a big garden to tend to, or have an eco-friendly lifestyle. And all of that is important, and all of that may reflect environmental wellness, but I believe like even the smallest actions can make a big impact. And that's from the foods that we eat to our certain daily habits and even our hobbies. Mm-hmm. So like all of that can tie back into that. You don't have to necessarily be into nature. You don't have to love nature. You don't have to be all about it, but you can still play a part in environmental wellness.
Yeah.
Of those factors.
Absolutely.
Backtrack just a little bit. What kind of got you so passionate about the environment?
Well, kind of national parks. Mm-hmm. I remember going to my first national park and just being amazed at the beauty and the glory of it. And I thought, this is such a precious jewel in America. Like we have so many cities and so many countries that our nature is almost diminishing. Mm. And national parks they're preserved, they're safe. Like they can no longer be like they're an area that's safe. You can't build a city there. And I thought if I could somehow help other people see that this beauty and this nature is important, then maybe they would have a passion for it. And maybe they would want to make lifestyle changes that could help protect our earth. And I mean, our earth is also our children's future. Like our girls, like when they're 30, what is their earth going to look like? Yeah. Like every piece of plastic that's ever been created is still around today. If it has not been recycled properly. And I just kind of wanted to help educate others on that importance. And also, I think it's fun to talk about. So I just enjoy talking about it. Part of it too.
Yeah, it's definitely our home and our children's home and our children's home. Mm-hmm. Well, and Cameron, I'm curious, how much into like environmental wellness, going green, that sort of thought, were you into before you met Michelle?
I think you know my answer. No, I mean, for sure, like there are a bunch of traits that I have accumulated over the years of being with Michelle, and for sure one of them is trying to be more green. Before I met Michelle, I don't think recycling was in my forefront, or neither was I didn't even know what composting was. Or
single-use plastic.
Single-use plastic. Growing up, my family we didn't travel much, and when we did, we were on the Gulf Coast of Mississippi, so we would travel to beaches, and I didn't really see all of the beautiful greenery and all of these state parks, and it took some time getting adjusted to, as far as when she talks about the environment with such passion. But over the years of being able to travel and do all of these different things, I definitely have grown accustomed to really enjoying that aspect. And I wouldn't have it any other way. And again, I'm still evolving, and I'm still trying to be the best I can to support the earth. But when I think of environmental wellness, though, as far as for me, even with Michelle or before Michelle, I think if you're going to treat yourself well, whether that's being healthy, eating healthy, exercising, or living Christ-like, treating your body like a temple, hopefully that will portray in a limelight to where you're also going to take care of other things. And hopefully that will be the environment. Hopefully that will be your community. It'll be a lot more than just yourself. And so if you can have that mindset of just taking care of things, treating yourself well, treating other people well, and hopefully the environment will be another one of those things on that list. So.
Yeah, actually in this series, we've done the 8
Yes.
I keep count on the 8 dimensions of wellness, and they play one into the other. And, as Christians, we have this calling, and we probably all are all coming to learn about it as we grow in Christ. But exactly what you're saying, like it's not just one thing that you focus on, but you're focusing on, taking care of the earth, the home that you've been given, the people around you. So, and it all stems, like I said, as Christians, it all stems from Jesus and from what he has given us. And that's kind of where we feel like this, kind of series of the 8 dimensions of wellness has come from. So it's really cool that you, share that as well. So I'm curious, like, what kind of space creates wellness for both of you? Like, what is it that you feel like brings about that environmental wellness just in your own little bubble?
So for me, organization, like I like things neat and tidy and clean. Like I function better that way. And it just helps me breathe better. But also a home that's a place like neat and tidy, but also a place where Listen can play, bring out her toys and games as well. And then a home that's open to friends and family coming over, visiting, eating with us.
Yeah.
And then, of course, a home that's eco-friendly, like mindful of our decisions. And we do compost and recycle and all those things as well.
All right. So let's say you're somewhere where it is not neat and tidy. You're at a friend's or family's house. They're very chaotic. It's a little messy. I'm not even necessarily gross. Just it's real chaotic and messy. How do you kind of cope in those moments when it feels almost stressful?
Well, I used to babysit a family with 6 kids.
Oh.
And so it was crazy. It was always crazy. It was always a mess. But like in that situation, I would just have to like find things that kind of brought me joy and have kind of a positive attitude and talk to the kids, and the kids would make me happy, and that would change my mood. And it just kind of helped me adjust to the situation.
Yeah, 6 kids, that would be kind of chaotic.
Yeah, I think you get a pass on not having a neat and organized home when you have 6 kids.
You do.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But another way that, like, I work at a hospital, and for the past 2.5 years, it's been very stressful, lots of fluid changes, lots of stress, and even unknowns about job stability and what's going to happen next. And so, like, when I'm at work, some of the things that have helped me change my environment, because I can't physically change parts of the environment, but I would go to like a coworker who I know has a positive attitude. I would go up to her and we would like talk, and we would tell jokes and she would make me laugh. That would alter my mood. And then also showing kindness to others. Like I've noticed if I compliment someone or buy them a treat, like that also helps.
Yeah.
Taking deep breaths, and then also just going outside for a walk. If you're in an area that's crazy and wild, or like the hospital, lots of germs, I would just go outside and just go for a walk. I'd walk around the parking garage or go through our little rose garden area and just peel off stress, kind of reset my mind. And it was a nice break.
Michelle, you actually would do a couple of stories on your Instagram when you did those walks. You would say, all right, take a walk with me through the rose garden. And I would be like following you through. And I do remember that, like, because I remember I posted some pictures of our like flowers in our backyard when all of the COVID mess hit and we were all like just stressed out about life and what was going on. I remember you and I maybe talked about just the nature and how it just brings like happiness and a little bit of refreshment. So I always love it when you take us on a walk with your Instagram stories.
I've had so many people comment about my taking a walk, because the hospital is such a big place and there's so many weird walkways and stairwells and alleys, and then there's a rose garden. So a walk is good.
Yeah, especially in the sunshine. Especially in the sunshine.
Yes.
All right, Cameron, let's say we're in a workplace. It's pretty cubicles. There's white walls everywhere, and you're just sitting there going, all right, I feel the clinical whiteness of everything. How do I turn that into an environment that kind of breeds wellness in my life?
And that's a good question, because that's something that we have to deal with at a lot of workplaces that we go and visit. And it's very hard to change an environment that has been set up by doing the same thing over and over again. So if you've always worked in cubicles and all of a sudden you're trying to change, it's hard to do it by yourself, and it's hard to get everybody else on board. Hopefully, if you were to make the environment more wellness oriented, people would be on board and they would like to do something outside of just sitting in their cubicles all day. And so if I were able to create something where I had a workplace of people who were just in cubicles, obviously I think I would try to make some sort of regimen where we have to get up, stretch, walk a little bit every few days. I mean, every few couple of minutes, or maybe not a couple of minutes, but I would say about every hour, every 30 minutes. But in a perfect world, I would love to have like a ping pong table. I'd love to have a boxing bag to get that stress out. Like that would be my ultimate. But there are workplaces where you can't do that, and so you have to think outside the box. And we try to put together packages for each group and tailor make it towards what they have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. But yeah, if you're stuck in a cubicle and the only thing you can do is just get up and walk around, try that out. I mean, there's some things where you can do some exercises even in your own workplace. So if you're sitting at your desk, you can make sure that things are ergonomical friendly. So the way that you're sitting upright, the way that your computer is adjusted in front of you, making sure it's not too close, not too far away from the screen for eye strain. You can even bring a TheraBand on site, which is one of those big stretchy looking rubber band things. You see it a lot in post physical therapy type exercises, and so, or even physical therapy exercise in general. But you can do a lot of resistance training with something like that. That's not, taking up too much space in the workplace. And so I think that would be a good start. And we have actually implemented that in many of the workplaces here in Mississippi.
That's really cool. That's a huge change for, like you said, places that have been doing it the same way over and over again or for years. Even just the color of the cubicles can make a difference. And I feel like we haven't even delved into like you guys' background. Both of you guys are artsy. So Cameron, I know you could probably even speak to the fact that like going from a gray, white cubicle to something with green or blue in it actually would even make a difference on the environment. And how it's
absolutely
wellness. Yeah.
You can put in some motivational posters here and there, or allow your employees to have more photos of their family around the workplace or work desk, so things like that would be good.
Yes. Yes. And windows, if those are.
Oh gosh. Yes. Too. Well, you can talk to Michelle about that. She works in a basement.
I work in a basement at a hospital.
Yeah. So we haven't said what you guys do. So Michelle, would it be appropriate to call you a librarian, or you just?
Well, I'm a library engagement facilitator. Okay. So I work in a medical library, and I run the medical library. I do research for physicians, patient education, as well as I'm on several committees. I reserve all of our rooms. I wear many hats in the library.
Yeah, way more than just a librarian.
Yes.
So, I knew that wasn't accurate, but I wasn't sure what you called it. So that is awesome. And then Cameron, you're technically exercise specialist. Is that how you say that?
My position has changed a little bit. I mean, when I first was hired on, I was an exercise specialist, and that still is true to this day. But I've now morphed into kind of overall wellness consultant.
Gotcha.
I might add, wellness consultant too. And we, of course, as I probably said before, we go to workplaces and work sites and try to keep them as healthy as possible, whether that's through, like we've said, talking about the environmental workspace, or even just running programs on a quarter-length basis, nutrition, exercise, stress management. So I do that for a health insurance company, and in hopes that we can keep their employees healthy, and hopes that we can keep the cost drivers down. So that's what I do. Yeah.
Love it. And I think it's so cool that the things that we go to college for sometimes morph into more, new and beautiful and innovative type jobs later down the road, which I think you both have kind of experienced and we all have in some way. So really interesting. I just wanted to make sure we stopped and talked about your actual occupation because I know it plays a role in a lot of what we'll be talking about. So next question, Tyler.
Yes, absolutely. Let's pretend we live in a world where I might have to be locked in my house for 2 weeks at a time. And, that feels a little stifling. So how do I set my house up for some environmental wellness in the middle of quarantine or lockdown?
Well, definitely don't forget to FaceTime people, make calls, reach out, talk to your family, talk to your social circles, listen to some music, spend some time outside. I'm always saying go outside. But maybe try like a new craft or draw or something. Like a new type of art or something. I don't know, try something new.
Start a podcast.
You can totally do that. Go to anchor.fm.
Yes.
You'll hear an ad about that later, guys.
Somewhere throughout this episode, there'll be an ad that tells you how to start a podcast.
How to start a podcast.
Be sure to let them know we sent you.
That's right.
Yeah, so, all right, I'm locked in my house. We've done some things to try and build some wellness, kind of looking at some people. We're trying to bring some green into the house a little bit. How about recycling? How can recycling kind of factor into building some wellness into my life?
Well, I feel like you should always reuse and reduce what you can and make forth an effort. So when you recycle, you're giving purpose to something else. Like it's not just being thrown away in a landfill. So you should feel good that you're contributing to less waste on the planet. Like that cardboard is going to get a new life somewhere. But also you could think about what you purchase. Like when you're purchasing something, think about, could this be recycled? Is this plastic? That might help.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if that was the answer to the question.
Yes, absolutely.
I kind of forgot what I was saying.
You nailed it.
I think that was perfect. And actually, you said something at the very beginning, kind of like just start, just do something. It could be something small. You said something along the lines, and I wanted to touch on a quote that I read today that I think applies perfectly here. The quote was, anything worth doing is worth doing poorly. Now, okay, you're thinking, what? Like, why would I want to do anything worth doing and doing it poorly? Well, if it's worth doing, then even just doing it at a small capacity is still worth doing. Even if it's at a much smaller capacity than what the whole world expects, or we see, because you can get on social media and you can be like, well, these people are doing this and these people are doing this. And
right.
And it's like, I can only do one thing at a time. And if I'm just jumping into recycling or even exercising, I feel like this can apply to any sort of wellness journey. It's like, if it's worth doing, then even just doing a little bit counts and it matters, and you can always grow from there. That quote kind of blew my mind today because I'd never heard it before. But
I've heard something similar.
Well, cool.
Yeah, you don't want one perfect person doing it perfectly. You want 1 million people doing it imperfectly. Same kind of quote as you said. Because that means that 1 million people are trying.
Yeah.
Like they're putting forth an effort. That's cool.
Yeah, and it will make a huge difference if 1 million people were trying or recycling or reusing, reducing in some capacity. Like it would really make a huge difference. So,
most definitely.
And I heard a quote this week by Jordan Peterson. He was saying, you have to be willing to look like a fool if you're going to try anything new. Because if you're going to pick up tennis or if you're going to go exercise at the gym, you're going to be somewhat looking like a fool because you don't know exactly what to do, how to begin, or where to start. So it's just, you have to be willing to be a fool in order to learn something new. And whether that's doing it perfectly the first time or doing it terrible the first time, but as long as, like you said, you're mindful and you're trying your best, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
I love it. That's good. All right. Really well, give me some tips on how to get started recycling then. Like, what's the top 2 or 3 things I probably need to know?
the top 2 or 3 things, like what to recycle or where to start?
Both.
Well, think about what you use the most. Like, do you do lots of boxes, like cereal boxes, macaroni and cheese boxes? You may have lots of cardboard. Or if you drink lots of milk, you may have lots of milk jugs. Also glass, like spaghetti sauce comes in glass jars. Like, think about those type of things. How much of that do you use? And then make a mindful decision to not throw it away, but to put it in a certain stack or somewhere. And then find a local recycling center. There's several around your area. I know you can go online and find them.
Mm-hmm.
Like ours is at the Reservoir Fire Station.
Yep.
They have different areas. And so just think about what you use the most in your home.
Mm-hmm.
And then think about which of these items could be recycled, what could be composted, or then what could be waste.
Okay.
And then just start making a mindful decision of not throwing it away if it could be composted.
Yeah, it's like a pause. Like I have to stop and think. But if we start taking pauses more often, we will be more mindful of our decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And our containers do tell us if they're recyclable or not. Is that right, Michelle?
That's true. Some will have the little symbol. Not all, but I think most of them may.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So that's a good rule to follow if you're not sure. Mm-hmm. It should say. And if you don't know, you mentioned looking on websites for your recycling places, but also for what is recyclable.
There's several. There's a local. I can't think of the website, but there's a local site in Jackson, and they've got some places listed depending on your city. Some of the places, unfortunately, during COVID, they were not accepting items, so that's unfortunate. And that's where I just think about, well, could I buy something fresh instead of in a can or in a box?
Yeah. So I would love for you to give us that website after when you find it, so we can post that in the show notes, because a lot of our listeners are in this area. So that would be great for us to share. So we'll put that in the show notes once we get that website, so people can look into that. Yeah. Now I want to talk about composting.
Yes, that's exactly what I wanted to talk about. You read my mind.
Yeah, so I'll just give our little tidbit. We tried composting for a couple of years. Yeah. And it went really well. Except once it all turned to dirt, like I didn't have a garden. I didn't have anywhere to put it. So we kind of just had to like throw it back into the yard.
That's okay.
And that's where it got used. Because we weren't like growing any, plants or vegetables or anything like that. But it really cut down on our amount of trash. So I want you to talk just a little bit on composting, your experience, and how people can get started on that.
And that's great. So my dad actually built my compost bin. All it is some 2x4s built into a rectangle design.
Yeah, squarish
rectangle design, and it had chicken wire on the inside.
Okay.
And so I would just throw in there bits of cardboard, bits of paper. I even put like fingernails and hair, my cat's hair. Just anything I could find, cardboard pieces, all fruits, vegetable peelings, all of that would go in the compost. And I even save like whenever we steam broccoli, like I save my broccoli water.
Okay.
And put that in there because it's very nutritious. Yeah. And so I would, and then also dead leaves. After Cameron cuts the grass, I would scoop that up, put in there. And you do have to turn it to aerate the soil so it can properly distribute. Now, I don't always get to distribute it properly, so we have like pumpkins growing in it right now. And I've had potatoes growing.
Weird things sprouting out.
I've had all kinds of strange sprouts, and so sometimes I would get those sprouts and I try to grow a potato.
I love that. Well, I think it is so nutritious for the soil and for the ground. And I think it's cool that yours is just out. So you don't have to like have it inside a container. And it does get kind of weird, but it does turn to soil.
It does. Mine is very low key, very low maintenance. It's literally a square with some 2x4s like put together with chicken wire. And I just dump stuff in there. There's no top. Sometimes animals will come and like get the apple cores and leave it there.
That's what I was going to say. That's my favorite part. I think it is kind of like a magic trick. It's amazing when you put the food out there and then all of a sudden a couple of days later it looks completely different. I think that's just our earth's going to work. But yeah, that is pretty funny when you see a half-eaten apple sitting on the corner of the compost. And you're like, okay, we definitely didn't put that there. Either a raccoon or something's been by having itself a nice midnight snack. But it is really interesting.
And I've got a great list of the browns versus the greens. I'll share that with you as well. It's just an easy list, and it's pretty good, very resourceful.
No, that is really good. And Michelle, you do actually have a blog that people can go to and read more about being eco-friendly and seeing some of your crafts as well, which are super impressive. Both of you guys are talented. And we would love to get that link as well so we can share that out.
Perfect. My blog has changed a little bit since my daughter's gotten older. We've been making some random little mini crafts for her dolls, but I still do share. And all of my previous posts about eco-friendly lifestyle is there.
Yes.
So I'll be happy to share that.
Good. Yeah. And you can give us that list too of the browns and the greens, and we'll go ahead and share that out. Composting is cool.
Yes.
My funniest story is that I read that worms are good for it. So I went and found me a worm in the ground, and I put him in the compost pile, and every now and then I would see him and I'd be like, hey, little worm.
He's like your little pet.
Yeah, it was like a little pet. People probably think I'm weird, but it's totally fine.
Earthworms are for.
That's right.
Well, I'll stop and say I actually had a point in sharing that. I'm always amazed by the earth, the creation that God has given us. Like, these things to me just are so cool. Like the fact that you can take your compost, the foods that you eat that came from the ground, take the leftovers, put them in a pile, and they turn back to dirt so that they can then nourish the ground and give us food to eat. And I will just always be impressed by what the Lord has given us on this earth, and definitely brings about like longing for new creation as well. New heaven and new earth are going to be amazing because it'll be perfect. But while we're here on this earth, we can do our part. And that's just what I continually hear you say, Michelle, is that we can do our part here. So speaking of that, how does your faith impact your desire and pursuit of environmental wellness?
Well, so God clearly placed humans in a position of responsibility over creation. I mean, the earth is so important to him that one of his first commandments to us includes taking care of the earth and the animals. And so if it's important to him, then it's important to me as well. And so Genesis 2:15 says, the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and to take care of it. For me, like I delight in taking care of creation, and I delight in taking care of our planet and also others as well. So saving the planet is also kind of like saving lives. And in that, environmental wellness comes into place. It's a place where taking care of the planet is like taking care of other people's homes, keeping their food, their water safe. And also, so Jesus teaches us to love our neighbors. And when our neighbors include people that live downstream from water pollution or downwind from air pollution and all of the soil erosion. So we should take charge to correct these aspects that are harmful to others.
I love that. You just took love thy neighbor and just expounded on it in this environmental wellness. I love that.
Because it is like our environment it's so much, and so our neighbors or everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Cameron, did you have anything that you wanted to share with that?
I mean, I definitely agree with everything Michelle said. I think it is kind of like a compounding type thing. You tend to forget that what we do on this planet doesn't just have effect with ourselves, but it has effect with our neighbors, and then their neighbors and their neighbors and their neighbors, and it just continues to go in that way. So I think if we can just make small and simple decisions, hopefully that'll compound itself as well and kind of lead to better lives for all of us. So nothing really else I can add to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, this one may be a little more towards you than Cameron. Our church that we're all a part of, the Exchange, we would fit a typical modern church, and I mean that in the most positive way. But we fit a very typical modern church mold. And so once you get into like the worship gathering time, it tends to be like all black. Ours is actually just like black and gray throughout the whole space. The lights are low. It's dark. And so as I was kind of prepping for this episode, I kind of started thinking for a minute, do you feel like our churches, as a general rule, churches do a good job of creating environments that really highlight wellness, or do we probably miss that mark a little bit?
That's kind of a question for both of us.
Well, I would say like some churches have a strong sense of community where they do reach out to those who are in need, who need support, who need aid. The church is also a family, and so the church takes care of its family members.
I think, you know, you mentioned that we're the typical modern church, and I feel like when you mentioned the environment as like a visual aspect of it being dark and the lights turning on, and you know, in the grand scheme of things, I feel like that doesn't really matter to a certain extent, because, you know, I think we're all there for a certain purpose, and everybody has a difference as to why they're there at church and why they're going to the congregation. And so you can be nifty and nitpicky with things like that, but I will say that the light show that y'all put on, like the matching lights with the teleprompter and the PowerPoint color combination, because I have a YouTube channel, I don't want to, you know, I don't have to give a shout out or anything, but the car colors,
yes, plug, please.
I think it is, whoever's doing that is doing a fantastic job. And so I tend to kind of look at that stuff very, very thoroughly.
Well, I don't even remember what colors they put up there. I don't remember any of it.
You?
No. So I will give our plug to our creative, our worship and creative pastor, Josh Jordan, who handles those environments. I think many of our staff members care about it, but he is the one who makes sure the worship gathering is a very on theme. All of it kind of mixes together well. One transition to the next. Cohesive. Yeah, that's a good word. Yeah. He puts a lot of time and thought into that. And for the fact it's for guys like you, Cameron, who notice it, but it's also for people who don't notice it, but it goes in such a way that they're not noticing anything going wrong.
Like it's not off. Because I'm like you, Michelle. I probably wouldn't notice as much, but if it was off, I would be like, that might be weird. But because it's
exactly
cohesive,
you don't notice it. It's like elevator music for a lot of people. You don't really notice elevator music until it's not there or something's wrong.
That's true. That silent treatment with people standing in the elevator with you.
Yeah. So Cameron, pause. You mentioned your YouTube channel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you talk on that just a minute? Because this is where your art really comes out.
It's semi-embarrassing, honestly.
No, it's not.
It's not.
Well, I mean, you know, for people, I'm 33, so people my age grew up playing video games, and I think that caters to a lot of people in this generation. But so no, the way it started was I played a game called, many people know, it's called Grand Theft Auto, and it's just go around just doing mayhem type things. But I really honed in on the aspect of like the vehicles in the game and the way that they look and the way that they drive. And so I got really into like the racing portion of it. So I just got really good at racing in the game, and I was one of the top in the world, I would say, because I was setting some world record lap times of some of these courses. And I was competing in like crew battles and all kinds of stuff. But I would post these videos of the races and post videos of my time trials, and it wasn't getting many hits. And so one thing I also like to do was create car colors for the vehicles I race in. And you can do that in one of two ways. You can do that by using the car colors that the game gives, or you can use car colors that you can mod into the game. And so I would mod my own car colors into the game that were more rare and unique looking. And so I decided to start uploading that to my YouTube channel. And so my views went from like 100 views, for a couple of months on one of my racing videos to like 1,000 in one day. And I was like, okay, I think I hit something here. And so I just started uploading more and more color tutorials and videos and a lot of just a lot of really cool, nifty things. And I really taught myself how to edit, taught myself how to do commentary, and it kind of took off. I mean, I'm not saying I'm some big YouTuber or anything, but I've got about almost 16,000 subscribers, and a lot of people every day are commenting. I'm getting about 3,000 to 4,000 views a day, which I think is pretty cool.
And so, overall, you have like 3 million views.
Yeah, I got a lot of views. So it's when you have a certain number of subscribers and a certain number of views, you are able to monetize that. And so that's an added perk and benefit of being in the revenue share with YouTube. I get a little check every month, which is kind of nice. But I love car colors. I love colors in general. And I grew up, like you said, we're artistic people, and I grew up in art class all throughout high school, and even made it to what's called a studio art class when I was in Birmingham, Alabama. And there were just 2 kids in the class. It was me and one other fellow, and the teacher would play some Simon and Garfunkel music, and she would put an object on the table in the middle of the room, and we would both draw it from different viewpoints. And at the end of the class, we would just look at each other's drawings. Awesome. But a lot of them got entered into contests, and I think I won one contest. And so, art has always been kind of my background for sure.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, now I have a better idea of where your passion for kind of crafting your environment, aka your space, and making it geared towards wellness comes from.
There you go.
Yeah,
it all morphs together.
Yeah, you're a testament to the fact that you can be a track field, ultimate frisbee all-star, and also very creative and artsy. I'm just saying they can coexist.
And no hobby is embarrassing.
Like, absolutely not.
A hobby is a hobby, because I make miniature crafts for dolls.
Yeah.
No hobby is embarrassing.
I agree with
you.
Michelle.
She says that, but when you do start a YouTube channel and you're putting in hours and hours and creating these videos and you're not getting any money or revenue from it, it can get kind of tedious.
It's a hobby. I just do it.
I know.
Right.
Once you're able to kind of put in the effort, and then you see the benefits as they kind of reap in slowly throughout the years and the months, it makes it all worthwhile. So. Yeah, and it is enjoyable, like you said. It's a hobby, and I enjoy doing it.
Yeah,
I love it. That's awesome. Well, it's been a lot of good conversation. We got one final question for you guys. What is something messy in your life that you're loving?
So we didn't quite understand this question.
Fair enough.
What do you mean?
I just was thinking we should have probably prefaced them on this question. So
I was confused.
Yeah, so. You explain it.
So when we say something messy in your life that you love, it's something like, bedtime routine is going terrible, but we're having a ton of fun hanging out with our kid. Just something that, it's probably not going according to the full-on plan. It's a little off the rails, but at the same time, it's a lot of fun.
Finding the good in it.
It's fun. Yeah.
Well, it definitely probably be about listening.
That's probably a few things in my life.
Listen, playing soccer.
That was the most adorable video I have ever watched of a 4-year-old playing soccer. Tell me more about this 4-year-old soccer team.
You want me to tell?
I can't talk.
Well, she had her first game last Saturday, and I decided to record the first 3 minutes of the game. And listen, poor girl, she's only had one practice. And so when they say go, like any 4-year-old, they're going to go all after the ball. But Listen was the only one who really didn't attack the ball. And I didn't know what to think about that. And so then I realized that she is a goalie. She loves to be in the goal. And so she would, when that team got the ball and they were attacking their home goal, Listen was the first one to get to that goal and to hopefully block the ball. And unfortunately, with her not really realizing there's 2 sides to everything, she would also do the same thing for our team trying to score. So I was constantly saying, Listen, get to the goal, block it. And I was Listen, get out of the goal. Don't block the goal. So it was just a blast. And that can be, for sure, messy. And and muddy, but also very fun.
No, I mean messy about it. The first 3 minutes were fun. The rest of the 40 minutes she spent sitting in Cameron's lap complaining.
No.
So, that was.
She's getting used to it.
Yeah.
3 minutes of cuteness made the 40-minute complaint.
Complaining.
Worth it.
Yes.
I can add another thing, and this is kind of off topic, but I think this is relatable to our lives because we recently paid off our home.
Yes.
We were able to save money throughout the years and invest wisely, and so one of the things that has somewhat gotten messy, but I've really enjoyed and has helped was getting into sports cards memorabilia. So I started doing that about 3 years ago. And I started buying and selling my way up. And I got to where, when I was a kid, I used to love sports cards. And so it just was one of those things where I told Michelle I wanted to take $100 and see what I could do with it. And I would buy and sell. And before you know it, this is where the messy part comes. I'm going into auctions, and we're talking about $29,000 later, auctioning off cards and selling them. So luckily, I've done my market research, and I have done enough, research on the players that I collect and the cards I'm collecting to know the price points for everything. And so, anytime I do decide to sell, I've been able to make a good flip. I guess is what you would say. So,
but it's stressful.
It can be stressful, but we've adapted to it, and we've made it work for us. And that's one of the reasons I think that we're able to do what we can as far as making payments and things like that. So that's been a kind of a messy thing, but it's also been very fun and rewarding at the same time.
Yeah.
That's
wow.
so good.
Well, it's just impressive because you guys are clearly very much intentional about the things that you do. And in any aspect, whether it is arts and crafts or it is a side hustle or it is paying off your home. We're gonna have to plug you guys when we get to the financial wellness episode and remind this story about how you guys kind of worked it out to pay off your home in 10 years, correct?
7 years and 9 months.
7 years. Wow,
that's
impressive.
Intense.
So I have had absolutely joy having this conversation with you guys. I love to hear your passion behind this environmental wellness and how it can be a way to love your neighbor, and not just your neighbor that's here beside you, but your neighbor that is 10, 20, 30, 50 years down the road. So super cool interview. Thank y'all for being here. I did want to pause and say, Michelle or Cameron, was there anything you guys wanted to say that we didn't touch on?
I think we've got a good running conversation of everything that I feel about environmental wellness and going green and just all those aspects together.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun, and we really enjoyed being able to talk about it and then talking with you guys as well.
Yeah, I think ultimately, if for your listeners out there, I think the biggest thing is if they're thinking about recycling or even going into composting or just making simple changes. I think that's really the best start, is to make simple changes and don't worry about whether you're doing it right or wrong. Just making sure that you're doing your part and trying to protect our earth is valuable. So anything you can do is going to be beneficial. So I appreciate y'all having us on and talking about environmental wellness. I think it's one of those things that we tend to forget about, especially nowadays with what's going on in the world and COVID times and everything else that can be super stressful. So having a hobby, which is good for the earth and good for us mentally and physically, is a positive thing all around.
Yeah, awesome. Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for sharing. We told you that was going to be a good episode, did we not?
Yes, we did. It was fun hanging out with Cameron and Michelle.
Yeah, especially when we talk about environmental wellness with them. I think they were both great people to have on to share in their experiences, and also with their Jesus-centered perspective on the environment and wellness. Yeah. So to wrap up, we would like to share with you
a few things about the Bible and the environment.
Finish my sentences, please.
Yeah, I wasn't ready for it. You threw it to me. But we're going to talk about the Bible and the environment. Typically, when you think about the two, it's easy to not equate them together. Like, how does God talk about the environment in like an environmental wellness kind of way? But yeah, he does.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting to think, like, is this a calling that God has given us as humans?
Yeah. I mean, so let's just jump into it. In Genesis, God gives us creation, and he tells us to tend it and to keep his creation. I mean, he created it. And have you ever created something and then intentionally, like, you put all your time and energy and effort and, like, you're very proud of what you created, and then you hand it to somebody and, like, do whatever with it? No. God wants us to take care of the creation he gave us. He calls us to tend and to keep his creation and be mindful of how we treat it.
Right. And so to be mindful not just of the land, but the things in the land.
Yep.
Like the animals, the plants, other people.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, like let's say crop laws, harvesting laws that you find in the laws of Moses. One, there's crop rotation that's in there, because after every so many years, I forget the exact number, you're supposed to rotate and plant a different crop.
It's probably 7.
Yeah, it's probably 7. It's the Bible. No, it probably is.
Well, but if you know, like my dad has cows, he has to rotate them. Otherwise, they will run the land down.
Yeah, they'll kill that area.
Then they won't have any grass to eat, and then the land will be terrible. So you have, like, there's reasons why those laws exist or those ideas exist, and it's because that's how we were made to take care of the land.
Yep.
And the animals.
We're told to even take a year of rest of planting things on the land. There are laws about how to treat animals and treat them well. There's laws about not just burning down all the plants and trees and everything if there's a war going on, because if you burn everything down and then whether you win or lose, there's nothing left and you're kind of in a bind. So.
And you're talking about biblical law.
Yes, in biblical law. Yeah, it's Moses' law. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are eco-friendly laws in the Bible. And then there are even New Testament promises around
a new earth.
A new earth. Think about Romans. Roman tells us that the whole of creation is like groaning to get to that point where God makes everything new. He restores everything, because sin didn't just break us, it broke creation.
And as we've talked about in an earlier episode when we were kind of talking about creation, new earth, we don't really know what new heaven and new earth will look like, but we kind of have this idea that because it's supposed to be a restored earth, like it will be very similar to to the garden, but earth, what we live in now, but of course perfected.
Yep.
So it's not like God just created this earth and was like, all right, never using that again. Seems like we'll actually have a new earth with trees and stuff. I mean, I can't be 100%
sure
right on that, so don't take that.
No, you're right. You're definitely right.
Specifically.
It's going to be similar. But despite the fact that, yes, God is going to make everything new, that doesn't remove our individual effort. I mean, again, just harken back to creation. Who is supposed to tend and keep the creation? We are. Therefore, we should be taking care of creation in our current time. I mean, obviously, we're not going to solve everything. I think Michelle even talked about that. But we can assess our impact and just start to look and go, okay, what are some choices we can make to
as individuals
to make creation a little bit better, or at the very least, not harm it further.
Right.
So a few things about the Bible and the environment we just wanted you guys to know before we get it wrapped up today.
So I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. We sure did. We will leave some information in the show notes about Cameron and Michelle, where you can maybe reach out to them further or find them further on social media and online. So just be looking out for that. But before we go, we have to make sure you know.
We need you to subscribe wherever you're listening to. That way you don't miss a single episode of the podcast. Be sure to share it on the socials or, just via word of mouth to all your friends. Give us a rating and a review wherever you listen. And then you can swing through bolesoflife.com to find all things Boles of Life, but very, very specifically for one of you to tell us what is messy in your life that you're loving. You can record that on the podcast tab of bolesoflife.com, and we'll feature you on an episode. Thanks for joining us on the podcasting journey. We'll see you again soon.